Hello, my name is Darren Kwilinski. Welcome to IGN Compete, and I'm here with Stella Chung and Max Tompkins. And today we're going to be talking about Splitgate and how it will fare in the esports realm, especially coming up against Halo Infinite. Well, let's just kind of jump into it. We'll start off with essentially what is Splitgate. If you haven't heard of it, it's a game that's kind of been out for, I think it was launched in 2019, essentially a little bit unannounced, went on Steam, and I played it when it initially came out because it looked cool. Everyone was like, oh, it's Halo with portals. Had a blast playing it, but then it kind of fell off as the user count dwindled, sadly. Since Halo Infinite's beta, though, everyone was kind of like looking to scratch more of that itch, that Halo itch, and Splitgate kind of is now having its time in the sun with somewhere around 64,000 average current users over the last couple of days. They've definitely seen a huge spike in popularity. There's waiting on queue times. There's a healthy debate on, what is this going to look like in terms of esports, and will it be able to take down Halo coming into the fall? But what are you guys' first impressions about Splitgate? Or how did you feel about it? How hard was it to get into it? And what did it feel like playing for you guys?
I'll let Max go first since he is.
I was my bad. Yeah, there was a giant helicopter outside. But going into Splitgate, I was a little hesitant to play it. I'm not really sure if that was just because of ignorance or maybe because I've never really played a game like Halo before. I've never even played Halo. But once I actually started getting into the game, it was addicting, like straight up addicting. I think the portal mechanic is probably the coolest mechanic in an FPS game I've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, I think the portal mechanic is pretty cool. I noticed that, yesterday when I first started playing after the tutorial, it kind of throws you into like games with other beginner players, which is pretty cool. So it's interesting because the portal usage wasn't used a lot in those lower lobbies, and I'm assuming that as your skill based matchmaking goes up, as your skill ranks up as well, you'll be placed up against people who do use the portal mechanic more freely. I did watch like a few people, I think they mentioned like diamond lobbies. I don't know if there's ranked yet, but I'm assuming there's people talking about like higher MMR lobbies. And the way that they use portals are super fast. And I was like, oh, so that's how it's meant to be played.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
ranked. It unlocks at level 15, and I'm,
Okay,
I'm
got it.
almost there. But yeah, there was some pro play that we were checking out. I was checking out, and we have it in here somewhere in our footage. How fast they were using portals, but also what stood out to me was how they were bringing back their portals. They were closing them down so that enemies couldn't come through them or utilize them against each other. Like you just saw in that clip right there, that guy was firing a carbine through the enemy portal, and he was actually, trying to score hits, which you can do. So there's a lot more to it than just shooting a portal, running through it, and then setting it and forgetting it. Right? There's a lot of strategy, and as more and more players pick this up and really experiment with, ideal routes and team tactics and watching each other's backs and holding angles. I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see. And I think it's going to be the thing that actually gives it a leg up on Halo, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So we've talked about what kind of makes it special, which is the portal mechanic. I also think that the pace is great. It's easy to learn. And I think at a base level, kind of easy to master with these portals. Like it's pretty clear, like if you want to travel from one end of the map to the other, that's, pretty simple to do. And then as you do that, I think that just naturally opens up players' creativity. During you guys' playtime, what kind of things did you find out as you were going along, like in the creative space, like the sandbox, I guess, how to use your portals and maneuver around the map?
So for me, when I started out, I spent the first few games just pretty much just running and gunning everything. I ignored the portals completely. In fact, I never even used any of the utilities. And that's not just because it's Splitgate, but I do that for a lot of FPS games because I'm just an aiming demon. I love doing it. But once I actually started getting into the portals, I loved it so much. I thought counter strafing around portals and being able to swerve in and out and go behind enemy lines to take down people using it, I think it was one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. And I can only imagine like a pro play, right? Like the amount of like 400 IQ moves that you can bring out would just blow everyone's minds.
Yeah, I think I was kind of the same way. When I first started entering matches, I just wanted to test out all the different guns, especially with the different spawns, and figure out where each one would spawn at. Which, by the way, for each map, there are different guns, like different sets of guns that spawn, and there'll be like different spots for different types of guns. So I was really learning that, but I would use portals to try and like get higher ground advantage on enemies, because at least in a lot of shooters, that's kind of important. At least your positioning. So I would use it that way, or movement, like to get to another gun spot really quickly before the enemy could grab it, stuff like that. It's I like the portal mechanic. Again, I think just at higher lobbies, it's going to get really fast, so it's going to be really hard to keep track of where you're at and where all of your stuff is.
Yeah,
You know what
and I
it's
saw that. Oh, go ahead, Max.
Oh, you know what it's like? Did you guys ever play Call of Duty where like you went and tried to collect the weapon skins, like to get gold on every weapon? So you have to like run around the map and get bloodthirsties. That's the itch the portals really scratched for me.
Man, I never had the patience to go for the gold
Yeah,
skins.
no, me neither.
Come on, Darren. Come
I
on,
just
Stella.
no, thank you.
No, I'm
Oh.
yeah.
I just would rather buy a cool skin than go for the gold skin.
Darren.
I don't need people to know how much I play video games that much. Real quick on the closing up the kind of the portal conversation, because I do want to talk about the movement, which Stella, you had noted. One of my favorite bits that I actually was able to record was grabbing a rocket launcher, shooting a portal where I just got a kill on a guy, and I knew he was going to spawn over there. Shot a portal on the wall that was going to be behind him. Shot a portal to my left, and he was standing there, and I got a rocket kill through the portal. It was amazing.
That's rude.
What?
It was so fun, but it really made me excited because I was playing with my friend at the time, and I was like, "Oh shit, did you see that?" And he's like, "No, I'm dead." So yeah, no, the portal mechanic definitely is going to increase the pace of the game I think in a strange way. You know, you have slide mechanics in some games, you have sprint mechanics in others, and there's a sprint mechanic here. You have jetpack mechanics or grapple mechanics, and there's a jetpack in here. But still, you kind of noted that the jetpack is a little bit floaty. The movement feels like Halo 2, but those portals allow you to close the distance and reach places so quickly that, you know, I don't want to say it artificially increases the pace of games, because this is a core mechanic, but it just creates, you know, sudden bursts of speed and momentum and action. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I could agree with that, but so this is only on no, this is on console as well, right?
Yeah, on
Yeah,
PlayStation.
that was one of
Yeah.
the reasons I think it grew in popularity as
So
well.
I'm curious to know. So I know that at least with like Apex, there's a very big disparity between movement in a console versus PC players. PC players are able to switch very quickly between movement and being able to snipe or like shoot immediately. So I feel like PC might have an advantage here as well, just because you might be able to adjust your keybinds, make sure that you can like figure out your comfort buttons and switch back and forth between portaling. But I feel like this game might turn into something like Titanfall 1 had turned into, where a lot of the elite players stuck around. And now if you try to get into it, casual players might find themselves getting absolutely decimated and being like, well, this isn't really fun. Like, I just want to learn how to play the game. Like, I don't want to use portals. I mean, it's kind of like Fortnite. A lot of people don't want to build, but building is a core mechanic of Fortnite. But some people don't, and it's okay because Fortnite has now adjusted the skill based matchmaking. I believe they added bots to some public matches so that it feels like, hey, I did something. Um, and I feel like this game could quickly become that with the usage of the portals, just because higher level players, if they come into public matches, they could just absolutely just roll other people who aren't using the portal mechanics. Um, so that's the one thing that I'm worried about. Movement being kind of floaty is fine. I mean, we've been used to that with Halo. I'm sure a lot of people are kind of nostalgic for that sort of movement. I am disappointed that there isn't a slide, because that would make this game that much better. Like a short slide, just a little slide, like what Halo
That's
has.
the Apex coming out in you.
Well, even Halo implemented a tiny momentum slide though, and I think that's just really nice. Being able to slide and then maybe like slide into a portal, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Speaking of Halo, you know, in the esports realm, people played the Infinite Beta. My impression from what everyone was saying, I sadly did not get to play it, but I caught up on a lot of streamers and highlights. We actually put out a highlight clip of some of the cool moments. But everyone kind of said, it's Halo. It's fine. It's kind of vanilla. Granted, they're playing against bots. There wasn't much variety. There's a ton of content that no one's seen or played yet. So we got to take that all with a grain of salt. Everyone still likes that classic Halo experience, though, and so you kind of know what you're getting with Halo. But Splitgate, again, to me, adds that special sauce, a little bit of barbecue sauce on there, a little bit of hot sauce,
Right.
where you have those portals and you have some really cool levels. All the guns are basically ripped from Halo 2, from the battle rifle to the SMG. I think the plasma rifle is basically, the plasma rifle from Halo 2. I was like, wait, is the name the same? Yeah, it is the same. So there's a lot of similarities there, but opening this up for a little bit of debate, do you guys think Splitgate has legs to compete with Halo, or is it just going to kind of be a little bit more of a niche thing, both in esports and in general gaming once Halo Infinite comes out?
Oh, that's such a hard question, Darren. That's so hard.
I'm not here for the easy softball questions, Max.
I know. So the thing about both of these games, right, is that both of them are in beta. It's going to come down to, well, we obviously know what the release dates generally for each game are going to be to go outside of the beta, but it really comes down to whose esports scenes can really grow first. I mean, Halo right now, given everything you said about the multiplayer, I kind of feel like right now a lot of it is hinging on the Halo name and that nostalgic past, which is completely fine. If they have an amazing multiplayer experience and the esports scene blossoms, I'm more than happy to start getting into that and seeing what it's all about. But Splitgate, if they're able to maybe release themselves a little bit first and get that established tournament structure down, they have a really good chance right now of really jumbling things up and taking over Halo. But they got to do it quickly.
Yeah, so the thing is, I know, so Splitgate is still in beta. It made very sure to tell me as soon as I loaded up the game. It said, "Hey, reminder in beta." Um, Honestly, I cannot think of a way to make Splitgate better. I think that if it were to come out as is, it would be fine. Now, if you pit it against something like Halo, I don't think it really has a chance. I think a lot of people are getting into Splitgate right now because the Halo beta did come out, and everyone was like, "Wow, this is what a modern Halo feels like. I miss this," and it brought back a lot of feelings of nostalgia. It brought back a lot of people who actually switched over to Apex for competition. A lot of those ex Halo pros had gone to Apex because of that similar sort of like arena feel, with the abilities and stuff. And a lot of them came back to the Halo beta and were like, yeah, this is what I've been missing. So, judging from those reactions alone, I feel like Halo already has a very strong foundation for esports. I mean, it's been around forever. The competitive community has been around for a while for it. I mean, people still play the old Halo multiplayer often. So, I feel like it already has a huge leg up on Splitgate. Splitgate potentially could hold its own ground, but this burst of activity makes me a little bit worried because it happened right after the beta for, Halo. And you know that when Halo comes out, it's gonna be polished. Like, we know what to expect. Like, the beta was clean. I know it had some issues at launch, but I mean, hey, downloading the game is gonna take a while, like, getting into lobbies because everyone wants to play Halo is gonna happen. And again, like what I said with Splitgate, I feel like there's going to be that level disparity between people who've been playing it since it came out, versus casual players who are going to come in and be like, well, this isn't very fun. Like, this isn't like everyone's kind of, you know, steamrolling me. Where now there are tons of new tools in Halo where you can learn how to play the game. I mean, you could play against bots, which the bots are actually pretty good. So you can learn a lot of the way of like how other players might play. There's also the new training grounds where you can drill different weapons and you can like level up your expertise in them. So I feel like Halo has a lot more tools to kind of open up its community and build a competitive player base as opposed to Splitgate.
I
I
think
agree.
there'd be a
Halo
lot
has
of
a huge head
saturation.
start. Oh, go ahead, Max. What?
Internet, right? I mean, it's so hard over telecommunication, but I think there's gonna be a lot of saturation too, right? Come fall of this year, because we're not only gonna have Valor, we have Apex, we have Splitgate, potentially Halo, but then we also have Call of Duty, the new one coming out. We also have the new Battlefield coming out as well. That's 6 right off the top of my head. So I
Yeah,
can only
it's going to be
imagine.
crowded
Yeah,
for sure.
and with Splitgate, the only thing we've mentioned so far that really has that leg up is that splurt of activity that's had right now after the Halo beta, but also the portals. I mean, what are the chances that Valorant comes out with an agent that can do portals as well, right? Or like you mentioned, Darren, no portals in Val. Yeah, you're right.
And it's Symmetra all over
Yeah.
again.
You know,
Oh.
So there's a lot of really great points in there. And I do agree that Halo has a huge leg up. It has an established base, it has an established name, it's a franchise that's been around for 20 plus years. I've played every single one, of course that I'm gonna jump into Halo and really enjoy myself just because, it's good to play Halo again. Um, I want Splitgate to succeed because I do think that it allows for a different path for FPS esports pros who maybe can't get into Halo or maybe can't get into Apex or those aren't their jive, but they find Splitgate, right? And they can find success there. I mean, Apex Legends, that launch was so successful because number one, it was a phantom launch. No one knew it was coming except for the people who were going to be playing it that day. And you had people like, I believe Shroud was like the biggest streamer that day who was broadcasting it, right? And it generated so much momentum and heat for that game. And you could play it that day, right? Which led to it being a very established and great game. Splitgate is trying to do that a little bit with a $10,000 invitational that comes up in a little bit, and they have names like Moist Critical, Summit 1G, Jared FPS, and a couple of others in that tournament. But I think there needs to be more. There needs to be more prize pool. There needs to be a little bit more information if they do want this to be an esport, because they've been running pro tournaments and things like that for the last year intermittently. The last one we've showed some footage of, I think it was around late July. So people are playing this at a quote unquote competitive level, but until they actually come up with concrete plans on what they want to do or how it's going to shape up and what a season might look like, then yeah, I have to agree, sadly, that Halo has the pedigree and the chops and the lineage and the experience to run a successful esports league. So both in terms of the game itself and the esports, yeah, I don't think Splitgate's going to come out on top, but I think out of what you were saying, Max, it is definitely a top three more interesting FPS than the next Call of Duty, which is rumored to be a World War Call of Duty. I really like Battlefield 2042, so I'd put that one above it, as well as Halo Infinite. But Splitgate's a solid 3 for me in terms of this fall what I'd be looking at in terms of an FPS game. What do you guys think about that? Where would you guys put Splitgate among that
Ooh,
suite of products?
that's a
Hmm.
hard one.
We
I
know
would
Stella
agree
has
with your
Apex
list.
at one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, can we count Valorant still? It's always updating. I'm counting Valorant as number one. But I
What?
mean, yeah. Hey, if she can put Apex, I'm putting Valorant. But I mean, overall, I think your list, Darren, is pretty much right? Because I mean, the new Call of Duty, I know it has. I don't want to say it's been on a downward spiral or anything, but a lot of people have been complaining about Call of Duty and not really bringing out new things in recent years. They've been riding on the CDL, which is completely cool and stuff, right? But I think people do want a little bit more. They want a Splitgate competitor for that kind of game. And I think Splitgate's also healthy competition because it's going to force not only itself, but also Halo to really up their game. They got to outcompete each other. There's a monopoly in that one sort of arena shooter style. It's going to get stagnant like Call of Duty can be. And I think Splitgate can find a nice little healthy niche there.
Yeah, I feel like Splitgate could add a different level of competition to previous Halo players. But again, at the same time, like they're both free to play, and that's the biggest thing, right? The fact that Halo multiplayer is going to be free to play, that's a huge deal. I think it will overshadow Splitgate, but I do think Splitgate players, just because they do really love that aspect of the portals, they're going to stay. So there will still be a healthy player base, I think. So I feel like it's just gonna be split between, like, the dedicated fan bases between each. Um
Split, Splitgate.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Ah,
But yeah, no, I
The
think Splitgate is great. I think it would make for a really good, um what is it? A really good spectator esports, because it would be really cool to see that from like a commentator's perspective, just scanning over the maps, seeing where everyone is, what their exact strategies are for placing these portals, right? Because a lot of people might do stuff that they're just like, oh, I never thought to do that. Why would I never think to do that? And the fact that through portals you have to be at a certain angle, you have to actually aim once you're looking at a portal to still shoot someone through it, as opposed to just, oh, I'll just blindly shoot into it and it's fine. So I feel like it would make for a really good spectators esports. Now it would be really hard to follow again with all the fast-paced portal shooting, but I think it'd be really cool. So if this tournament goes well, I would like to see more, and I would like to see them pick out um, people who are more dedicated to playing the game more than just like for one tournament. Because I genuinely don't know if I've seen Summit play longer than like a day or something. And I know that he's a big name, but like usually when you put big names into tournaments like that and they don't really play the game, they can't really speak on it. And it sucks because you want players to be able to speak on the strength of the game and be like, oh, and draw new players because viewers might be like, oh, you know what, that sounds really cool. Like let me get into that. But if your player can't really speak on it, then how are you gonna bring in new players? So
Yeah, and they just get
that's
questions in chat. It's like,
yeah,
"How's the game?" It's like, "It's fine. It's cool.
yeah.
It's free. I'll play it
Mhm.
until Halo comes out." Is really what I feel like a lot of streamers would say.
Yeah.
The last thing, I guess we'll wrap this up. But the last thing, I really do think it kind of boils down to some of the originality and creativity, and it sounds like they're putting a lot of effort in, making customization a really great thing in Halo Infinite. They want you to be able to kind of, I guess, kind of play your way and feel like it's your Spartan and things like that. Whereas in Splitgate, the creativity all comes within the match itself. And I'm not familiar with exactly what they might be trying to do in Halo to keep things fresh and unique, other than just riding on the Halo name. But over in the fighting game community, Guilty Gear Strive, some of the top players, including Sonic Fox, are kind of like, it was great at first, Guilty Gear, nostalgia, but now I kind of know everything about it, and until more new stuff comes out, it's kind of, stale. Whereas in Splitgate, if we kind of take that over to Splitgate and Halo, the creativity is pretty boundless, and I'm wondering if that might give it some legs in the long run, between new maps and skins and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, my last question to you guys is, are you going to be playing more Splitgate?
Probably. I mean, it's, I between so I mean Apex's new season just dropped, so I've been grinding ranked. So between that, I've been wanting to play more FPSs that are kind of more readily available that I can link up with friends with. So this is definitely one of those, especially since it's free to play. So yeah, probably.
I think for me, Splitgate is a really good aim training game. It's a game where you don't really need to care as much about getting kills or deaths or worrying about your rank or KD or anything, but you can also go and warm up before your Apex or Valorant or any other games that you play, so you don't go into your ranked matches there rusty. I think Splitgate in that kind of way is like a really good companion game to like really help people become better players. But I think a lot of it has to come down to seeing how Halo's going to succeed when it comes in the full launch.
Stella, Max, lovely conversation. This was awesome. Great first episode. We will see you guys on our next episode. For everything else, IGN Compete. Keep it locked here on our IGN Compete YouTube channel.